Good evening and welcome to today's lecture. We continue with customer relationship management. It's important for us to note that it is quite a daunting task trying to retain customers and to build customer loyalty, getting customers to stay with you for as long as possible. All right. And retaining existing customers as well as attracting new customers is one of the most important challenges for organizations. Now, the customer relationship management, when it was initially introduced, the purpose was to help organizations to kind of understand who their customers are and how they behave, so they can modify their operations in order to best provide the services that the customers need. So the main objectives for customer relationship management, CRM, were to first of all find out more about the purchasing habits and preferences of customers. What are the purchasing habits of customers? Okay, the pattern of their purchases. Okay, so this was one of the initial purposes of customer relationship management. Right. Again, it was to also profile the characteristics and needs of individual customers and even groups of customers, and then also to change the way the company operates in order to improve the company's services to customers such that they can provide exactly what customers require. Now, over the time, customer relationship management has developed, and it has developed to the extent that customer relationship management can cover currently 3 broad areas, namely analytics, operations, and collaboration. Analytics involves analyzing customer data for a particular purpose. For example, to analyze customer buying patterns. What's the pattern of customer buying? Okay. Next is operations, which involve supporting the sales and marketing and customer service processes. For example, contacts. The organization would have contacts or phone numbers of customers, okay, in their database so that all personal information of these customers are updated from time to time, okay? And so they're able to use this to get in touch with customers going forward. The third one is collaboration. Collaboration simply means the direct interaction with customers by way of use of email, telephone inquiry, and so on and so forth. Now, in this modern day, customer relationship management is associated with the use of computer software. Okay, and this is mainly because customer relationship management is such that you would have a lot of data about customers, especially an organization that deals with numerous customers. It is easier to keep this data in a database on a computer software, right? So customer relationship management works hand in hand with software. You these days would find it difficult to do without computer software to manage your customer relationship as an organization. Okay, all right. Now take note that customer relationship management is not just the application of the technology or the software. It is also a strategy to learn more about the customer's needs. We've talked about customers' needs, okay, how to meet customers' needs and their behavior in order to develop a very strong relationship and a lasting relationship with customers. So therefore, it is more of a business philosophy than just traditional technical solution to assist in dealing with customers effectively and efficiently. Okay, so CRM almost all the time relies on the use of technology. Now let's look at the strategies of customer relationship management. Strategies of customer relationship management. Now the main strategies for customer relationship management include acquisition, retention, extension of customer relationship management. So we'll take them one after the other. Acquisition basically is the process of attracting new customers in order for them to make their first purchase. Okay, getting customers to make their first buying with you. And this is usually done through e-business acquisition. And to do this, usually organizations would try and profile potential customers and several different market segments. Okay, they can also use customer-specific online promotion and incentives, okay, to get customers or to acquire their first customers. They can also use direct email. They send emails to potential customers. They can also advertise, banner advertisements, and then you can also find customers through search engine registration and directories. Okay, oftentimes when organizations are registered, they are also registered in the directories of search engines. So when you Google them, you're able to find them. Now, in order to target the right client base, the company should analyze the target clients to decide who to target and how to reach them. Okay. Now, when targeting consumers, segments of the consumer market should be targeted, okay, on the basis of buying habits of the customers. Okay, this can assist in improving the effectiveness of marketing. Okay, so that's about acquisition. All right, let's look at retention. How, after you have acquired your very first customer, how do you retain them? There are strategies that organizations can put in place to retain their customers, which includes personalizing email. So you send them direct emails or text messages, okay, to follow up and remind them about your product and services. Okay, you can also launch permission marketing, okay, where customers will provide consent. Okay, they can, for instance, tick boxes and then tell you that okay, or consent that okay, they'll be okay receiving your emails, they'll be okay receiving your text messages. That's another technique. Okay, you can also have the strategy of offering loyalty schemes, okay, and promotions for repeat customers, so that after you have gotten the customer to make their first purchase through acquisition, if you want to retain them, give them customer loyalty schemes such that if they make their next purchase, they enjoy a certain benefit. Okay, they enjoy a certain benefit. You can also include order tracking, or help desk. You can have a help desk where customers can call in, or you can get in touch with them and then find out how you may be of help to them. Again, you can also enroll customers in a community electronically so they can develop brand loyalty through web-based discussion. So within that community, you have customers who can share information or discuss information about the company and its products. Now, take note that retention usually or ultimately requires an organization to understand individual customer needs, maximize the service quality for each client, and select the appropriate channels for making contact. Okay. Now, next we look at extension. Extension simply means leveraging existing customers. Leveraging existing customers. Here, it involves selling more to existing customers beyond just repeat purchase. So for instance, after the repeat purchase, you want the customers to continue to buy from you. Okay, this will also involve cross-selling and upselling, as well as optimizing service quality and using the right channels to reach your customers. And the techniques here may include direct emailing. You continue to email them to analyze their behavior, to learn about their buying pattern, their habits, and then their preferences. And you can also do on-site promotions. Now let's see the difference between what we refer to as transactional marketing and relationship marketing. Oftentimes, when you acquire your first customer, you want them to make a repeat purchase. You want to do an extension so you continue to have purchases from this customer. And you would want to keep this customer for as long as possible, right? So CRM aims to focus on long-term relationship, not just short-term after their repeat buying. You want to keep them for as long as possible, okay? So traditionally, you would have thought that after they buy, they go. New customers will come in, okay? But in terms of strategy, you want to keep these customers for as long as what possible. And the aim of this is to maximize returns from individual transactions in the short term, okay? And the long term as well. Okay, this often requires collaborative approach to working with customers rather than doing things against your customers. All right, let's look at customer relationship management software, CRM software. There are several off-the-shelf CRM softwares. These have been produced and put on the market, and so anybody, any organization can go get them and use them. The only disadvantage with this is that they were not designed specifically for the organization. So it may not fit for purpose 100%, although it can be used. Okay. The main functions of customer relationship management system are to collect data, okay, from individual customers and then categorize this data, okay, on the customers. Again, it is to store the customer information and then update it from time to time. Okay, the software would also enable you to access information instantly anytime you need it. You should be able to access it. The software will enable you to do that. And you can also query the software to what? To analyze customer behavior or their buying patterns. You can use the software to analyze customer behavior in order to develop more effective marketing strategy. If you're able to tell the behavior or analyze the behavior of customers, then you know how to what? To market, how to get to the customers, how to target the customers through what? Effective marketing strategy. Okay, the software also provides customers with a better experience. They're able to contact you through the software. You're also able to what? To contact them through the software. Okay, and oftentimes customers will feel that they receive better service when they're able to deal with a person who knows about their previous buying experience, okay, with the customers. Customer service staff are able to provide this type of experience because they have access to the software. Okay. And finally, the software can be used to monitor key customer management performance, such as the number of customer complaints. So you'll be able to address their specific complaints and needs. Okay. So that's about customer relationship management. Let's talk about resources and competencies. We are still talking about internal analysis. And one of the key things within an organization is the organization resource, okay? The organization's resource. Now, what are resources? Resources are assets, processes, or skills, okay, that the organization has and have control over, okay? You can group resources or categorize resources into human resources, physical resources, financial resources, and intellectual capital. Now let's look at threshold resources and unique resources. A threshold resource is or are the resources that an entity needs, okay, basically needed by an entity in order to be able to participate in the industry and compete within the market. Without threshold resources, an entity cannot survive in the industry where it operates. Okay, so you need that basic minimum that is called what? Threshold. And then we have what we call unique resources. These are resources that are controlled by the entity that competitors do not have and will not have access to or easy access to. These unique resources are a source of competitive advantage for the organization. Now, what are some of these unique resources? Some of them could be ownership of scarce resource or scarce raw materials. Okay, if your company is the only organization that has this, then that is what? A unique resource. Another example is location. Your organization may be located in a prime area, okay, in a place where no competitor can have access to. For example, hydroelectric power generating companies like the Volta River Authority, they have exclusive assets to the Volta River where power or hydroelectric power is generated and distributed. Okay. Another example is a special privilege such as ownership of patents or a unique franchise. Ownership of patent or a unique franchise where your organization has the exclusive right over the use of that resource. Okay. Now, unique resources are a source of competitive advantage, as we have said, but they can change over time. So do not be complacent. Okay, they can lose their uniqueness. Typical example is an investment bank might benefit from employing an exceptionally talented specialist, but take note that another organization can poach them if they're able to give this specialist the required or his what do you call it? What he wants. If the organization is able to meet his remuneration, his conditions of service better than your organization, they can easily poach such a talent. Okay. Again, a company might have patent rights, okay, that prevent other competitors from copying that unique feature of the product. However, it is possible for competitors to what? To be able to forge or to be able to pick this information and then replicate it. Okay. Let's talk about competencies. What are competencies? They are defined as activities or processes in which an entity uses its resources. Okay. They are created by bringing resources together and using them effectively. Using them effectively. All right, let's distinguish between what we call threshold competencies and core competencies. Threshold competencies and core competencies. Threshold competencies are activities, processes, and abilities that provide an entity with the capability to provide a product or service with features that are sufficient to meet customer needs. Okay, that is the ability to provide threshold product features. All right. Then core competencies are activities, processes, and abilities that give the entity a capability of meeting the critical success factor requirements of the product or services and achieving competitive advantage. Now, threshold capabilities are the minimum capabilities needed for the organization to be able to compete in a given market, right? In a given market. For example, threshold competencies are competencies where the entity has the same level of competence as its competitors, or that they are easy to imitate. Now, to do really well, however, an entity needs to do more than merely meeting thresholds. You need to go beyond meeting thresholds. You need to be able to develop competitive advantage. Okay? Capabilities for competitive advantage consist of core competence. These are ways in which an entity uses its resources effectively, better than its competitors, and in ways that competitors cannot imitate or obtain. Let's talk about sustainable core competencies. Sustainable core competence. So if you have a core competence, you want this competence to be what? Sustainable. You want to sustain it for as long as possible. Okay. So that it will continue to provide you the needed competitive advantage, right? Now, for sustainable competencies or for competencies to be sustainable, it should be durable or difficult to imitate. It should be what? Durable and or difficult to imitate. These are the two main conditions for which your core competencies can be what? Termed as sustainable core competencies. Sustainable core competencies. Okay, so in summary, we've talked about resources, threshold resources. We've talked about what? Threshold competencies. We've talked about core competencies. We've talked about threshold competencies. We've talked about resources, threshold resources, and unique resources. Those are what we have talked about in summary. Now, threshold resources, as we saw earlier, are resources needed, basic resources needed to be able to participate in an industry. Unique resources are the ones that provide a foundation for what? The organization's competitive advantage. Threshold competencies are activities, processes, and abilities needed to meet threshold product or service requirements. And core competencies are activities, processes, and abilities that give competitive advantage. Competitive advantage underlined. Take note that threshold resources and threshold competencies are necessary, though, but they are not sufficient for achieving strategic success or strategic capability. Okay. Competitive advantage. Competitive advantage. We've been talking about competitive advantage over the period. Now, before we talk about competitive advantage, let's take note that there are two main factors that affect profitability of an organization, according to Michael Porter. Okay, one is the industry structure and competition within the industry, the structure of the industry and the competition within that industry. Okay, and this is where he used the 5 forces model to explain the factors that affect competition. So the second factor that affects profitability at the level of individual company is achieving what? Sustainable competitive advantage. Sustainable competitive advantage is achieved by creating value for customers. If you're able to create value and continue to create value for your customers, then of course you are able to what? Provide, or you are able to achieve sustainable competitive advantage. Now, competitive advantage arises from customers' perception of value for money. Okay, the product you are giving your customers, they have a perception of that product, okay, in terms of the value they get for the money they have given you. Okay, the value they get comes from either the low price or features of the product or the way it is made available to customers, accessibility, access to the product that make the customer willing to pay a higher price, or a combination of price and product features. So they obtain value by way of what? Low price or features of the product, or a combination of the two that gives them the best value for their money. Right. Now take note that value is determined by the perception or opinion of customers. It is not you, the organization. A combination of price and product features that gives the best value to one customer might not give best value to another customer, because customers are different. It is important that whenever an organization decides to select business strategies for competitive advantage, okay, they have to decide their corporate strategy and the combination of portfolio of businesses they want to be in. Then they have to select one or more business strategies that will enable them to succeed in their chosen product market. And there are several approaches to identifying and choosing business strategies. Okay, and we'll be looking at this in subsequent lectures. The strategic clock. The strategic clock. This is how the strategic clock looks like. Okay, so this is the strategic clock. So this is a model we are going to spend some time on. In our just ended topic, okay, we talked about two key things that provide value to customers, namely the price of the product or service and the benefits that customers believe the product or service provides them. And competitive advantage comes from offering an attractive combination of both price and perceived benefits. Okay, now this model is going to give us that combination between price and what? Perceived benefits. Price and perceived benefits. The strategic clock can also be used to assess the business strategies of competitors and the combination of price and benefit that they are offering. So this is the main reason why we are going to be looking at the strategic clock. It's such an important model we are going to turn our attention to. And what is the purpose of the strategic clock? As we said, it helps us to see a combination of price and perceived benefits, okay? And we can use that, okay, to assess the business strategies of what? Of competitors, and even your own organization. You can use that to assess your own what? Strategy, okay? Now, as I said earlier, this strategic clock has two main dimensions. We have the price and the benefits, or the perceived benefits. Price can be shown on a scale ranging from low to high. The same way perceived benefits can also be put on a range of what? Low to high, okay? Now the clock just looks like a clock. That's why we call it what? Strategic clock. It consists of a series of business strategies. These are the business strategies you are seeing. 1, no frills. 2, low price. 3, hybrid. 4 differentiation, 5 focus differentiation, and 6 strategies that will fail between here and there. 6 up to here, right? The one in shaded in gray. Okay, we'll talk more about that. Okay. Now, thus strategic clock can be used to consider different business strategies for gaining competitive advantage based on providing a combination of what? Price and perceived benefits. Okay. Now, the 5 broad groups of the business strategy, as we have mentioned, are what? No frills, low price, hybrid, differentiation, and focused differentiation. These are the ones that would what give an organization a certain competitive advantage. Okay, the side where we have the gray would what are strategies that will cause an organization to fail. Now let's look at them one after the other. Now the no frills strategy, which is at position 1. Okay, here it means that the organization wants to offer a product or service at low price. So you can see that the price here is low. Okay, with low perceived benefit, the benefit is also low. So here, the price is low, the benefit is also low. Okay, now thus should attract customers who are price conscious and are happy to just buy a basic product at the lowest possible price. Okay, now this price usually has found its use in low cost airlines, which offer basic service for low price. So the most important for such customers is to sit in an aircraft and it takes them to their destination. They don't care so much about other benefits or value that other aircraft services or airlines will provide. Theirs is what? To enjoy the basic value of what? Movement from one place to the other, and that's it. So they are prepared to pay a very low price and enjoy what? A very low perceived benefit. Now, the low price strategy. Low price strategy. Here you can see that the price is low, but then the perceived benefit is intermediate. It's more than you find with what? With no frills. Okay, here customers perceive that the product or service gives average or normal benefits. Average or normal benefit here. Okay, it is not regarded as a low quality product, even though the price is low. Okay, the price is low, but then it is not considered as what? A low quality product. Okay. Now, with that strategy, only the lowest cost producer in the market can implement this type of strategy successfully. If you cannot provide your services at low cost, then it will be difficult for you to what? To adopt this strategy. So if your company or organization is not the least cost producer, it is going to be difficult to what? Adopt this strategy. Otherwise, your competitors who have opportunity to be able to provide such services at very low price can overtake you. Okay, so take note that only the least cost producer should adopt this strategy of a low price. Okay. Let's look at hybrid strategy, the hybrid strategy. So yet still, you can see that we are going up higher the perceived benefit ladder. Hybrid strategy. Here, this involves often selling a product or service that combines higher than average benefits to customers and a below average selling price. You can see that the selling price here is below average. Okay, this is the average. The side is below average. So if you go up here, then you have what? High perceived benefit, but then the price is what? Below average. Not low, but what? Below average. So it's between low and average. So below average. Okay. This strategy often requires low cost production, and also the ability to provide larger benefits. The ability to provide larger benefits. Okay. It tries to achieve a mix between low price strategy, okay, the low price strategy, and differentiation strategy, which we would look at next. Okay. Now, what is differentiation strategy? This strategy is often based on making a product or service appear to offer more benefits. You can see that it is high up there in terms of benefits, okay, than other products or services offered by what? Competitors. Here, companies will try to differentiate their products, make them unique, okay? And there are so many ways in which differentiation can be achieved, okay? Product or services might have different features so that rival products do not offer exactly the same benefits. Companies might also promote the perception that their products or services are much better in quality, okay? Now, in terms of the strategic clock, the strategy of differentiation involves charging average prices. You can see that clearly here in the middle, average prices, okay, that are very much higher than what? Average. Okay, the strategy is charging average prices for the product or services, or prices that are perhaps only slightly higher than the average. That strategy does not involve charging prices that are very much higher than average. Okay, all right. Customers under this strategy would believe that they are getting more benefits. Okay, more benefits, probably the highest perceived benefits. Okay, for their money. All right. Next, we look at focused differentiation. Here, the strategy is to sell a product that offers above average benefits. Okay, above average benefit here. Above average benefit for a higher than average price. Here, it's higher than average. This is average. This is higher than average price. Now, products in this category are often strongly branded as premium products. Okay, so that their high price can be justified. They can justify why they are charging higher price. We'll look at some examples. For instance, in Europe, gourmet restaurants and Ferrari sport cars are examples of products that are put on the market based on what? This strategy. Okay, they are very expensive, but then the perceived benefit is quite high. Okay, so these are the 5 main strategies that an organization would like to adopt. 5 main strategies. Now, this section of the strategic clock that has been shaded in gray, we call it business strategies that will fail, or strategies that will fail. So do not offer a price or a product that has high price, but then the benefit is what? Is medium, perceived benefit. You would fail. Okay, you would fail. Or offer a product that has high price or above average price, and then the benefit is what? Below average. It will fail. Or a product that has average price, okay, and then the benefit is below average. That too will fail. So on this clock, look at it like the normal clock we have. The normal clock, this is what? 12. Okay, this is 1. Or somewhere, 1 is somewhere here, 2 is somewhere here, 3 is somewhere here, 4, 5, and then 6 is somewhere here, right? So between here, which is 3, okay, 2, 6, we call it what? 3 o'clock is here, 6 o'clock is here. So between here and here, we call it strategies that will fail. So make sure you don't put out any product that is within this range. Okay, so we looked at all these. We're going to turn our attention to cost leadership, differentiation, and lock-in strategies. So talk about them one after the other. First, we start with what? Cost leadership. Cost leadership. Now, when we say cost leadership, we simply mean that the organization is the lowest cost producer on the market. We've talked about cost leadership, we've talked about differentiation in our previous lecture. So here, cost leadership means what? Lowest cost producer in the market. Now, the lowest cost producer in the market is able to compete effectively based on what? Price. So based on price, that organization is the best. Okay, so it's difficult to compete with such organizations if you cannot produce at lower cost than they are producing. Okay, they do this by offering their products at lower price than rival products. Okay, and it can sell its product more cheaply than competitors and will still be able to make the required profits. Now, companies with cost leadership strategy must have excellent systems of cost control and should continually be able to plan for further cost reductions. You have to be able to sustain this what? Cost leadership for as long as what? Possible. Okay. The source of their competitive advantage is what? Is the low cost production that they are doing. And they must continue to hold this in high esteem. Now, usually, companies that enjoy cost leadership or organizations that are cost leaders usually are large companies. So oftentimes they enjoy economies of scale. They enjoy economies of scale. Okay. And if you're a smaller organization, you may not be able to enjoy economies of scale. And so you will not be able to compete based on what cost. The success of a cost leadership strategy is based on offering products at the lowest price, as we have seen, which means that in order to make a reasonable profit, the company must sell large quantities of the product. Okay, large quantities of the product. Total profit usually would come from what? Selling large volumes at a lower profit margin per unit. Okay. Now, the cost leadership strategy is very similar to the low price strategy or the no frills strategy on the strategic block we saw. Okay, here. This and that. Very similar to that. Okay, let's talk about differentiation strategy. We've seen this earlier. This is also one of the models put forward or theories put forward by Michael Porter, our favorite management expert. Okay. Now, according to Porter, differentiation simply means making a product different from rival products in a way that customers can easily recognize. Okay, customers might be willing to pay higher price for the product, right? Because they value the different product features. Okay, companies pursuing such a strategy would need to offer products and services that are perceived as better or more suitable than those of what? Competitors. To deliver better products and services usually requires investment and what? Innovation. Companies with a differentiation strategies cannot ignore cost. The fact that you are competing based on differentiation doesn't mean you should ignore cost. They should keep cost under control and try to reduce it so that they can offer more value to customers and retain their competitive advantage. Okay? But take note that these organizations are not trying to be the least cost producers, no. But they must be conscious of what? Cost. It is more important for a successful differentiation strategy that product should give more benefit to the customer, even if this means having to spend more to deliver the product. Okay. Now let's look at another strategy referred to as what? Focus strategy. Focus strategy. A cost leadership strategy, as we saw earlier, and a differentiation strategy can be pursued in a market that is not segmented. These two strategies can be pursued in a market that is not segmented. However, many consumer markets are segmented. Practically, they are segmented, and companies might select one or more particular segment as target. They target a particular segment for their product. Okay, this is what we term a focus strategy. That is concentrating on selling the product to a particular segment of the market and not to the entire market. Okay. Now, within a market segment, a business entity might seek competitive advantage through either cost leadership within the market segment or product differentiation within the segment. Okay. Porter's 6 principles of strategic positioning. Now, thus we'll summarize or would look at Michael Porter's view on how individual firms can achieve sustainable competitive advantage. Okay, there are 6 basic principles. We'll look at them one after the other. The first one is that the strategic goal for a company should be to achieve superior long-term return on investment. Superior long-term return on investment. A company should not select its strategic goal any other objective, such as maximizing sales volume or maximizing market share, on the assumption that high profit will result from this. Maximizing sales or market share does not necessarily provide a superior return on investment. Take note of that. Principle number 2, the strategy must offer a unique value proposition for the customer, and thus is a combination of price and benefit that competitors do not and cannot offer. The value proposition might be for customers in the entire market or for customers in a segment or niche of the market. Or niche of the market. Principle number 3. There should also be a distinctive value chain. There should be distinct, unique value chain. The company should perform similar activities for competitors. Similar activities to competitors, but in a different way that offers customers more value, right? The selected strategy, that is the next point, the selected strategy will always involve some trade-offs. This means that by selecting one set of strategic options, a company inevitably chooses not to select alternative options. For example, there has to be a trade-off between the selling price of the product and the benefits that it offers. Okay? By offering one set of benefits, the firm is choosing not to offer others. The company could alter its product or value chain without having to make trade-offs. It cannot be achieving any sustainable competitive advantage, and competitors will be able to copy what the company is doing, right? Okay. Principle number 5. All the different elements in the strategy and in the value chain should link together. They should be connected so that they can what? Reinforce each other. Keyword, link together and then reinforcing each other. Then the second point, which is the last point, is that there should be continuity of strategic direction. Now, for an organization that has chosen its strategy and the direction that it wants to take, they should be able to apply the strategy consistently from time to time. Okay? The company should avoid the temptation of changing strategy every time a new threat emerges from competitors. Okay. There are some terminologies I would want us to pay attention to. Okay? We have leaders, followers, challengers, and niches. Within a competitive environment, a leader is the entity, that particular entity that sells most products in the market. Typical example is Microsoft. This company provides software for what? Personal computers. Okay, most personal computers have Microsoft on them. Most of them. Okay. And then also Coca-Cola. In terms of drinks or soft drinks, Coca-Cola is what? Is the market leader. Everybody knows this. Then we have a challenger. Thus is the organization that is not the market leader, but wants to take over as the market leader. If you take the example of the software industry, where Coca-Cola is the leader, you would say that Pepsi-Cola is the challenger, always trying to challenge what? Coca-Cola. All right. Then we have what? Follower. Thus is an organization that is not having any ambition to be the market leader. Their interest is not to be the market leader. All they have to do or they want to do is to follow the strategic lead provided by the market leader. Whatever the market leader does, they copy. Okay? And at times, even what the challenger does, they what? They copy. Okay? And a follower would also try to what? Differentiate its product as much as possible. Okay. Now, a niche, from the word niche, is an organization that targets a particular market segment or market niche for its product and is not interested in what? In the entire larger market. Their interest is just that small bit or segment or niche of the larger market. They're interested in just what? Serving that small niche. Okay. Let's look at what we call lock-in strategy. Lock-in strategy. It is another approach to gaining and keeping competitive advantage. If you're able to lock in your clients or your customers, it gives you competitive advantage. Okay? The idea of lock-in is that when a customer has made an initial decision to purchase a company's product, it continually comes back to what? To purchase the product from the same company. So the customer is what? Logged in. Okay? The customer is logged in. A successful lock-in strategy will often depend on becoming the industry leader or provider of what? Standard products. For example, Microsoft, Apple, countries or jurisdictions that buy what? Military aircraft from other jurisdictions. They are locked in. And our typical example in Ghana here is Electricity Company of Ghana. We are logged into them. If you look around, we have no option or practically no option, although there are solar panels and so on and so forth. Over 98% of our establishments, individual homes, everybody is using what? ECG. And so as we speak today, they have started taking mobile money or electronic payment for what? for the bills. They no longer want to take cash. And so whether you like it or not, you would have to what? Go and pay through electronic means. If you opt out, then it means that you probably are not going to get light. So they have what? Logged us in. So we continually buy from them. Okay. Now for lock-in strategies, let's look at some examples, other examples. For instance, when we talked about Microsoft, okay, Microsoft has logged in so many of its customers through the softwares that they provide. You buy a computer today, and then they install what? Office. They will install Office for you, or they install what do you call it? Microsoft operating system for you, and that is what most computers have. Okay, customers would often find it difficult to switch to personal computers that do not have Microsoft operating system. Okay, or do not include some of the widely used applications such as Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint, and so on and so forth. Again, Apple computers have also adopted the lock-in strategies for digital downloading of music from the internet. Its iTunes service, okay, cannot be used on non-Apple MP3 players, or on most mobile phones, unless what? Apple products. Okay, customers buying an Apple iPod are currently logged in to buy digital downloads from only Apple and no other provider of such service. Okay, now we've said that lock-in strategy tends to be achieved early in the product life cycle. You have to be able to do this right from the beginning, when the new supplier achieves an unassailable lead. Okay, you have to do it right from the beginning of the product life cycle. Okay. Collaboration is a very important thing these days for many organizations. So we'll look at the different types of collaborations. Now, in a competitive market, companies need to achieve a competitive advantage, okay, over their rivals. Now, in some situations, companies might be able to achieve competitive advantage through collaboration with either their suppliers, their customers, or other business entities in the value chain, or even some other competitors. They go into collaboration with some other competitors. Okay, collaboration with suppliers and customers can create additional value in areas such as, for instance, product design, delivery times. For example, if a supplier and a purchaser collaborate on the supply of goods by allowing their IT systems to be able to communicate with each other, then the cost of ordering and supplying will be reduced because they are both using what? One IT system. Now, both parties can share in those savings, okay? And additionally, switching costs are created which safeguard the supplier against competition. So the supplier is more or less having an assurance of what continuous supply. They can continue to supply because they have collaborated with their customer. Okay. Again, as we mentioned earlier, it is also possible that an organization can decide to collaborate with other companies within the same industry. Okay? Within the same industry, or even with what? With their competitors. You can do that. Now, strategic alliance is an arrangement in which a number of separate companies share their resources, okay, and activities in order to pursue a joint strategy. They put themselves together, not legally though, they are operating as separate entities, but then they are collaborating to achieve a certain purpose. And by collaborating, all these companies are able to offer a better product or service to their customers. That is the bottom line, to offer what? Better product or service for the customer. Typical examples are One World, which is what? A collaboration between British Airways, American Airlines, and other airlines. And then we also have another alliance or alliance called what? Star Alliance, which consists of what? Lufthansa, BMI, and other organizations. Okay. Now, the success of a strategic alliance often depends on the members within the alliance. Okay. Trying not to be what? Competing with each other, but what? Collaborating to help each other. Okay. Although they are in the same industry, okay, they collaborate, but not to what? To compete. Okay. Just that what they do, their different objectives is to what? Maybe 7 different parts of the market within which what they all operate. And then together they are able to take example, a collaboration between an airline and then a hotel. Okay, this airline picks passengers from one destination to the other. When they get to their destination, they provide them with what? Access to what? Hotel accommodation. This is a collaboration, or this can be a collaboration between an airline and hotel. So that you have this hotel in almost every part of the world. Wherever this airline takes customers to, they what? They tell them or they show them that they can go to that hotel to sleep. Okay, all right. And we'll look at different types of what? Collaboration. Okay, joint ventures is a typical example. Now, a joint venture is a formal venture by 2 or more separate entities for the purposes of developing a business or an activity together. Now, many joint ventures are established in the form of separate company. So these individual companies come together to form a separate company. So an entirely different entity is formed, okay, which is jointly owned by these what? Partners. Now, no single partner in the joint venture is allowed to dominate and dictate how this new entity is run and operated. Okay? Joint ventures are frequently used for investing in new business venture, okay, where the parties consider that this new business venture has high risk, and so they want to what? Share the risk by contributing to form this new company. Or there may be large amounts of monies involved in setting up this new business and to take advantage. Okay? Or this new business would require a mix of what? Skills. So which skills these individual companies will contribute to the new organization. So this is the reason why, or the reason why you can have what? A joint venture. Okay? The reason why individual organizations would want to put themselves together in a joint venture. Okay. And as we've said earlier, the joint venture will allow the business risk and the financing risk to be shared by all these partners. Okay. All right. Now, there are several advantages that comes with what? Entering into a joint venture. Okay. One might be that it may actually be a legal requirement. Okay. It might be a legal requirement by the country where you want to set up. Certain countries would say that, look, before you set up a new company in our country, you need to go into what? A joint business venture with local companies. It might be a requirement. Now, the other advantage is that it is possible that the local company may have better knowledge of the business conditions and practices within the country that you are establishing, because they are there, they have a better understanding, all things being equal. Another advantage is that it is easier to succeed by forming an alliance with local company than in competition with them. Okay, they know the terrain better than you, all things being equal. Okay, for example, it is also possible that government might be a major customer, and the government might be interested in promoting local businesses. Okay, all right. Then again, you may also be able to take advantage of existing customers. Once you form a joint venture with a local company, okay, you are already assured of what access to what customers, right? However, joint ventureship does not go without what difficulties. Okay, it is possible that you might have one particular joint venture partner who tries to what to dominate the other partners. Okay, dominate. Okay, you can also have one or two of them who wants to what even withdraw from the venture. Okay, and the joint venture companies start to compete with each other instead of what collaborating. Okay, instead of collaborating, they tend to what to compete with each other. So these are a few of the disadvantages. Nonetheless, joint ventureship is a very good collaboration. Let's talk about franchising. We've seen many types of franchising these days. Okay, some business entities have been able to grow through franchising. It's one of the fastest way of what growing your business. And as we said, it is a way of what collaboration. Now, the basic idea of a franchise is that the company develops a product, okay, which has the following features. Okay, this product is a standard product. It is delivered to customers in a standard way. Okay, so if you are a member of this franchise, or if you take a franchise, you will not produce a different product. It is the same product. So anywhere you go, it is the same product. Typical example is McDonald's food restaurant. Anywhere you go, the food is the same. The quality, the taste, everything is the same. Okay, so you find McDonald's all over the world, not because the company has set up branches all over. It is because of what franchise. You go and take a franchise, your own business you set up, and then you use it, the name McDonald's, and then you sell the product exactly as the other McDonald's in the next neighboring country. A local example is what? Is Ghana Oil Company Limited. You see oil all over the country. It doesn't belong to one person. These are individuals who have set up their business and they are franchising oil. Okay, they all produce the same price, the same products, and the prices are the same. Oil prices are the same everywhere. You can't have oil prices different. It is because this is what is a franchise. Okay, the other features are that this has a brand recognition. Typically, McDonald's and Goyle, they have the right brand recognition, which has been achieved through advertising and other sales promotion. So they keep on advertising from time to time. And all of you who have gone into the franchise will benefit from the what? From the advertisement. You don't individually have to go and what? And advertise. Okay? There are systems for delivering the product to customers at standardized the system for delivering the products to customers are always standardized, okay, using the standard equipment, standard work practices, and so on and so forth. Okay, and then the other feature is that customers always want to buy it. So if you have a product you want to franchise and nobody is interested in buying it, you must as well go to sleep. Okay. Now, in a franchise, the company that originates the product is called the franchisor. Okay, what they do is to protect the rights or the intellectual property, the IP right over the product. They are the only organization that provide that unique product. Okay, Then they will sell the concept to franchisees, that is those who will buy into this franchise. Okay, so they will pay the right amount of money to open their own shops or branches or businesses and sell that unique product. Okay, a franchisor would always supply the product design and the right to sell the product. So they will tell you how the product should be designed. They will show you the design, and then they also have the right to sell their products. Okay. Now, the franchisor will also provide centralized marketing service, as we said earlier. It's one marketing that covers all of you who are the franchisees. Okay. The franchisor will also supply other support services, such as business advice to these franchisees, and that comes at the lower cost than if you individually were to obtain these services from elsewhere. Now, the franchisee, that is you who has gone to pick up the franchise, okay, what you do is that you pay for the franchise. Pay for the franchise, and you also pay royalties based on the value of the sales. So anytime you make sales, you pay royalties. Isn't this good? Okay. Now, a successful franchisee suffers much less risk than setting up a new business, because when you set up a new business, you have to push in money to get yourself advertised, to get your first clients or customers, and so on and so forth. You can easily fail. But if you join a franchise, hooray, you have access to customers already, existing customers of the franchise. Okay. Again, the franchisor would receive a constant inflow of cash from new franchisees. Okay. As the operation expands, it is able to grow by selling its business concept to a larger number of businesses. Today, you see Goyle all over the country. Every corner there is Goyle. Okay. Their head office is often kept as a small place because there is considerable delegation of day-to-day management of the franchisee. The head office will not come to your premises and manage your this thing for you, your franchise for your company for you. You have to manage it directly, and they will be there and doing the head office works. The franchisor will always want to protect the brand name, so they will make sure the brand name is protected because it is what they eat from. It is where they get their revenue from. Okay, and to present a consistent appearance to its customers. It's consistent all over the place you go. Goyle is Goyle. The color of Goyle or the colors of Goyle is Goyle. So when you get into that franchise, make sure you paint your place with the same Goyle colors. You can't do otherwise because they want to maintain the brand name. The franchisee agreements have very extensive rules governing franchisees' behavior. So there are terms and conditions you have to sign to. Okay, so that is about franchising. You can also look at licensing as a form of collaboration. Now, with licensing, here, permission is given by the licensor to make goods. So we've given you permission to make goods, okay? Normally making use of patented process. You use our process to make To make your goods and then deliver your services, and to use the appropriate trademark on those goods, right? To use the appropriate trademarks on those goods. Now, in return, the licensor receives a royalty. The licensee is exposed to relatively little risk, and goods can be made wherever the licensee is located. Okay. Now, the aim of this is to what? Is to get yourself or your business quickly getting access to to clients. Okay. All right. Then lastly, we'll look at business consortiums and business cartels, right? And that will be the end of our lecture for today. What is a consortium or consortia? Consortia is the plural, consortium is singular. So a consortium is an association of two or more entities with the objective of engaging in a common activity or pooling their resources to achieve a common goal. That is what a consortium. Okay, it may consist of individuals, companies, or organizations, or any combination of individuals and organizations, companies, a combination of them is what a consortium. Now, the individual entities forming the consortium are only responsible to the group in terms of what specific obligations. So they maintain their entity name, offices, and everything, but they only what come together to what to achieve a certain objective. Okay, for instance, typically when government wants to raise huge sums of money, okay, from the local or international markets, they can do this, or banks can come together, put themselves together to provide that funding for government. Because an individual bank may find it difficult to provide all that the government needs, because governments borrow big. And so one bank may not be able to provide that service or provide that product. So a number of banks will put themselves together and be able to provide the service to the government organization. So while they will pool their resources to achieve a common goal of the consortium, each entity will, in every other respect, will remain what? Independent. So the banks will remain independent of each other. They only come together, collaborate to form a consortium to be able to provide that funding for the organization or government. Okay, this means that each individual will continue their normal business operations as an entity in its own right and will have no say over the non-consortium operations of any other member of the group. You have no business interfering in their individual businesses. Okay, consortiums are usually found in not-for-profit sections. Okay, in particular within the education sector, where resources such as libraries, research facilities, and experts and professors can be pooled together for a greater benefit of the individual organizations and to the students of those institutions. Okay. So finally, let's touch on cartels. Cartels. What are cartels, or what is a cartel? A cartel is an arrangement between rival firms in an industry to operate the same policies on pricing. Can you imagine? Competitors or rivals put themselves together and decide that they are going to charge the same price. And you can see this typically with the oil industry, OPEC, Organization of Oil Producing Countries. That's why we have one oil price on the markets, because all of them have put themselves together to charge a common price. Now, by operating a price cartel, the firms are able to charge higher prices than if they competed with each other. Because everybody would want to please customers. And so some of them will try to charge low prices. The others would want to maintain their medium or high prices. But then in a cartel, they will all charge one price. Now, provided that the cartel includes all the firms in the industry, or at least all the major firms, they're able to exercise supplier power. They decide what quantities of oil they are going to release. Okay, they decide to cut down on oil production. So they will tell you that oil production is going to be cut by this percentage. So all participating countries or oil production companies will cut it by that percentage. And that would be able to drive price. Prices would go up and then we'll complain. Now, price cartels are often illegal within a country, although OPEC is successfully doing this. The reason, I don't know. That brings us to the end of our lecture today. Thank you so much for your attention.